Joe Smith Jr. defeats Jesse Hart on a 10-round split decision. This was a good fight. This was a fun fight to watch. Really kind of went under the radar, this fight. Joe Smith versus Jesse Hart. Wasn't a lot of people talking about it. It was on Top Rank, ESPN. And yeah, it was a very, very good fight. This fight was announced, I think it was about a month or so ago. And when I heard Jesse Hart versus Joe Smith, initially I was thinking Jesse Hart should win this fight on points. Joe Smith, he's game. He comes to fight. He can definitely punch a bit. But he can be outboxed. We've seen him be outboxed by Sullivan Barrera. We've seen him be outboxed by Dimitri Bivol. You can see in parts that Joe Smith, technically, he's not amazing from a technical point of view, but he comes to fight. Tremendous puncher, very physically strong, real tough, knit and grit fighter. So I thought Jesse Hart would probably take this fight, because Jesse Hart, I've always rated him when he was back down to 168 pounds. Thought he was a bit unlucky in those two fights against Ramirez. To be fair, he didn't do enough to win both those fights, I thought. But at 175, different story. Got a good win over Sullivan Barrera, who beat Joe Smith. But this fight was not competitive in the least. How one judge scored this fight for Jesse Hart, I have no idea. On commentary, they only gave Jesse Hart one round. I think that was the third round. And I have to agree, it's the only round he won. Every single round other than that, Joe Smith was winning, and there was rounds he was winning that were big. He hurt Jesse Hart numerous times. He hurt him in the second, the fifth, had him down in the seventh, had him hurt another couple of times. The knockdown was from a right hand. He caught Jesse Hart kind of backing up against the ropes. Jesse Hart, he didn't go flat down, but he touched down, and the referee obviously called it knockdown, quite rightly so. Jesse Hart, he tried to box. I think Jesse Hart obviously looked at how people have success against Joe Smith, and they realised if you box Joe Smith, you keep him at distance, he is somewhat limited. If you can just keep him at distance, keep him thinking, you can have some success. Now, that's what Jesse Hart tried to do. He was moving a lot, but Jesse Hart was throwing no shots with any authority. Straight away you could see Joe Smith was just not respecting Jesse Hart's punching power, flicking a jab out. And Joe Smith just said, you know what, the hell with this, walked straight through him, was landing some hard shots on the inside, some good body shots, some great uppercuts. The uppercut was working out a treat for Joe Smith in this fight. And Jesse Hart just had no plan B. He couldn't deal with the pressure. He was looking really all over the place at certain stages in this fight. He was getting caught square. His balance was all over the place. He just looked horrific in this fight. He really did, which is a shame because, like I said, I've always thought Jesse Hart's a good fighter. The commentary team were saying that Jesse Hart, the shots that he's throwing, maybe down at 168 they have authority, but at 175 they just don't have the same punch on him. And you could see that the size difference was apparent. Now, Jesse Hart's very tall, 6'3", but Joe Smith Jr., just the physical size, Joe Smith Jr. looked way bigger. Jesse Hart, it really did look like a super middleweight versus a small cruiserweight in here. That's what it really looked like. Joe Smith Jr., the physicality, the size, the punching power, the pressure, it was all too much for Jesse Hart. And yeah, Joe Smith Jr. won this fight comfortably. Like I said, I don't know what one judge was smoking. I seriously don't, because he gave it, I think, by a point to Jesse Hart. I mean, the rounds Joe Smith Jr. was winning, and he won pretty much every round, he was winning these rounds big. So there's no way you could look at these rounds and think Jesse Hart's winning. There's no way. So how one judge gave it to Jesse Hart, I don't know. But the right man won, thankfully. And Joe Smith Jr., he moves on. And they've been saying that the winner of this fight is likely to face Alida Alvarez, they believe, for the vacant title. Now, Alida Alvarez is fighting next week. So Joe Smith Jr. versus Alida Alvarez, that'd be an interesting fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Gilberto Ramirez is ranked number 1 by the WBO. But we've heard, I've seen reports that he's looking to try and get out of his top rank deal. So, what goes on there, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the story is with Gilberto Ramirez. We need to hear more. So, he could be trying to get out of his top rank deal. If he is, then, probably likely to see Joe Smith versus Alida Alvarez. I'd even take Joe Smith in that fight. I really would. Joe Smith Jr., he's been out of the ring since he lost to Dimitri Bivol there back in March. And it's very interesting on commentary. He was saying, basically, to the commentary team before the fight that Bivol just outboxed Joe Smith. And Joe Smith said that it wasn't like your typical kind of outboxing. He said that every time he tried to press the action against Bivol and he really tried to, kind of get in there and stamp his authority, he said Bivol, it was like he was even more dangerous, and it made him just second think everything, which is why he let himself get outboxed for the 12 rounds. So Dimitri Bivol, very good fighter, but in this fight, obviously he had no fear of anything that Jesse Hart was throwing at him. Jesse Hart, this is his third loss. I think if Jesse Hart can go back to 168, he can do something, but I think 175 is a way too far, definitely. So those are my thoughts on this. Like I said, it was a good fight. ESPN, I mean, whenever I watch their fights, I think the commentary team on ESPN is fantastic. You know, Andre Ward, Tim Bradley, Joe Tessitore, they really have good boxing knowledge. And, you know, Andre Ward pretty much summed it up. He said that Jesse Hart was trying to fight like Pernell Whitaker, and he was doing a terrible job of it. You know, he wasn't staying in the pocket. He wasn't remotely slick. He was just fighting like he was afraid in there. So, great commentary by ESPN. Hell of a fight. Watch it. It's on YouTube. Definitely worth watching. Those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. Subscribe, of course, if you're new. And as always, I will talk to you after.